Good afternoon. It's Monday, September 16th. The time is 4 p.m. I'd like to call to order the September meeting of the Norwalk Traffic Authority. We have a quorum with Commissioner Palladino, Commissioner Sumter, Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Collier Clemens, and Mayor Rilling. First item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody waiting to address the Traffic Authority? Hearing nothing, I will take that as a no.
We have Diane Cece.
Okay, would you unmute her and allow her to speak?
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thanks. I'm speaking on behalf of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association today. I just want to point out that we continue to have concerns with the direct impact on East Norwalk of the Walk Bridge project. Of course, we realize that this is a regional project that impacts more than just East Norwalk, but I really feel compelled to share again that we're just not feeling the love over here in terms of road closures, detours, expansion of the project. Talking about Strawberry Hill at that point, but I haven't even had a chance to really dig into these latest closures here. And I wonder if there's any way, maybe with the exception of the one that's scheduled for November 3rd for South Smith Street, and that one's going to be very impactful, obviously. If there's any way that the commission would consider tabling the other two, items 8 and 9 on your agenda until your October meeting, so that ENNA can take a look at these confirmed dates, the closures, the detours, and maybe have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Pelletier and the Walkbridge team in case we have any questions. Neither of those are, well, one of those, item 9 to closing for Strawberry Hill, doesn't even begin until next year. And the other one is the closure of Fort Point to Winfield, starting up in December of this year with another 2-week closure. The other thing I want to point out too on the Fort Point to Winfield, this project's coming back in as another closure regarding utilities, in particular Frontier. And I have to be honest with you, we've got a lot of questions that I can't answer either about how many times are we going to open up East Avenue for utility work, either inspection or investigation or actually doing the work. And it seems to me that Frontier has had plenty of opportunities, especially in the last closure, to get done whatever they need to get done when the road has been closed for an extended period. I guess that's more of a question and a comment as well, but
I don't know.
I think you folks all can see where our concerns are with this, the impact on our community. And I realize that Walkbridge is a unique project, but I can tell you in all the other Metro North work, especially related to catenary lines and having to change railroad bridges and underpasses, for example, in when they did this type of work in Old Greenwich, they weren't subjected to any of this. They weren't subjected to lowering the roads for tractor trailers to get through. And I don't recall a time when they were subjected to closure where there wasn't at least one vehicular and pedestrian walkway kept open. So I guess I'm sorry, I'm just venting a little bit. And I wish I had had more time to dig into this agenda when it got posted. But that's part of the reason why I'm just asking if there's any way that you can maybe discuss this today. We'll certainly review the YouTube video, but then maybe table it until your mid-October meeting for an actual vote.
Okay, well, I'm sure that will come up in discussion. I'm not sure. Well, this obviously, as you know, is probably the biggest project that ConnDOT and Metro North and the government has ever been involved in. And unfortunately, it's necessary due to the age of the bridge and trying to make sure that everything gets improved. And I understand your concerns. I think we all do. It's certainly not pleasant pleasing for us to have to vote on these things because it's a challenge for the entire city. When they close down any street in the city of Norwalk, most people in the community are affected one way or another. So I'm sure that will come up in discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further participation? Okay, hearing none, I will close public comment. Next item on the agenda, I need to have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of August 19th.
Move.
Commissioner Collier Clemens moves the item. Is there any corrections, deletions, omissions, or additions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next, I need to have a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of August 26th,
I move item
2024.
2 for the special meeting on item 2 on August 26th.
Approved by Commissioner Lopez. Any omissions, additions, corrections, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Aye.
I believe I might have to abstain. I'm not certain if I was at that meeting. August
Okay.
26th.
Let me see if you were.
Looks like he was.
It doesn't appear. I'm looking at the
Yeah,
attendance.
no, you weren't there. No. So you can abstain.
Okay, then I abstain.
Okay. Motion carries with 4 approvals and 1 abstention. Next item on the agenda, a vote. I need to have a motion for a full closure of the Turkey Trot event.
So
I
move.
move item 3.
Commissioner Collier Clemens, who's going to, from the staff is going to discuss this?
Mayor, I will speak to this, but I believe we have someone in the audience who is here to speak on it.
Okay.
Let me just find that
And
again.
is this a recurring event?
Yes, sir. This is the same event that's occurred over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how, maybe 5 or 6 off the top of my head. I believe.
13? Is that it?
Oh, 13th, is it? Oh, I apologize. If Martha Parziot or Weldon Johnson is in the attendees list, or I think Tim Petty also has his hand raised, he might be able to speak for it. If he could be raised.
And I would ask who's ever here to speak on behalf of the organization, has anything changed from the last year?
Who has control of the attendees and panelists? So he could raise Tim Petty.
I think we're looking for Martha Parazot or Wendell Johnson.
Hi, this is Tim Petty with Rowayton Civic Association. This event, the Turkey Trot, as well as item 4 on your agenda, the annual Light Up Rowayton, are recurring events that have taken place for a number of years, and there are no changes in the prior year's requests.
So you're talking about items 3 and 4?
Correct.
The Turkey Trot and the Light Up Rowayton.
Correct.
Okay, on item number 3 that's been moved, do we have any questions or comments on that from the commission?
I have none.
I have none.
I have none either.
The
I have
police-
none.
The police department? Okay, I don't hear from the.
Mayor, no concerns in regards to the traffic plan, but there was some roll call issues as we discussed earlier in regards to invoicing.
Okay, are there outstanding invoices, are you saying?
Yes, there was at our last printout. Yes, sir.
All right, And this is for November 28th, and that's for the turkey trot.
Yes, the application is for
Okay.
November 28th.
So I think Mr. Petty, I think it is,
Yes.
would have to work with the police department. I would ask for an amendment to the, well, move it forward. I would ask for an approval based on the satisfying of the outstanding funds that are due to the roll call. Do we know how much they are, Chief?
No, a payment's been made, but there's still a debt, and we'll work that out with them, sir.
Okay. All right, so if somebody would make a motion to approve it pending the bringing up to date the proceeds that are due to the city.
I'll make a motion that we approve it, based on the pending monetary that has to be presented to the police department.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that moves us to item 4. Approve the, we need a motion to move that forward.
I'll
I
move
move
item
item-
4.
Chief, is this the same situation regarding roll call? Chief? Oh, you're checking?
I'm just catching up because I was going through a lot of paperwork here.
Okay,
Sorry. Yeah, we could also work out this situation. I have Mickey verifying it as we speak, but we could speak to this gentleman tomorrow and make sure everything's paid for in full and as the contingency that you put forward in the last item.
all right, so we would need to make a motion the same way we did for item number 3.
I have a question. Are these
Commissioner Collier
invoices,
Clemens?
are these invoices outstanding from last year?
I don't have it broken down per event. I have it in totality, ma'am.
Oh,
So it's a collection of invoices that occur throughout the year.
oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, are there any further comments or discussion? So somebody would make the motion,
I'll
I'll
make the
make-
motion.
okay? That is subject to the satisfaction.
Subject to the satisfaction of the police department and the roll call.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Petty.
Thank you.
Need a motion for item 5, the holiday extravaganza.
I move item 5 for full and partial closure for the annual holiday extravaganza.
Okay. Commissioner Collier Clemens has made the motion. We have Ms. Brialt with us, I guess, who is the organizer. Ms. Brialt, you could give us a brief explanation of what this is and whether there's any major changes from last year.
So the event is only going to be on Saturday, December 7th. There's an error on the agenda. I just wanted to make a note of that. So Saturday, December 7th, the event is from 4 to 8, but we're requesting the closure of Washington Street from 2 to 9 p.m. And the local traffic on Madison Street, same time, 2 to 9 p.m. This is our 3rd year doing it, and we're super excited to have it. But the majority of the event will be inside 50 Washington and on the lawn. So hopefully we can get that road moving, soon after the event ends.
It looks like the agenda says up until 11:55 p.m. Is that for cleanup or closing or?
No, the agenda is incorrect. We just need the closure 2 to 9 p.m.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I couldn't hear everything you said.
So we don't need the closure until midnight. We just need it up until 9 PM.
And I recall last year for this event or either some other event that we asked that the roadway be open past the entry to the 50 Washington Street parking lot, as well as, I believe, was it Madison Avenue? I'm not sure.
To
Yes.
allow for the post office.
For the post office, yes.
Yeah.
And so it looks like the street closure would include Madison Avenue.
So Madison Street would be local traffic only, so the employees at Safavia can get to their parking lot. The same for that portion of Washington Street. And I do believe the post office closes before our request.
This is on a Saturday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they do. They close at 12:30.
Okay, we also need to make sure that the 50 Washington Street parking lot would be open.
Yep.
The entryway. Doesn't look like here that it is.
I don't know if we kept that open last year. I don't think so, because we do use the entire lawn, just for safety purposes.
Okay. All right. Any comments or questions from the authority?
So for those that need to enter, say, 50 Washington Street from Washington Street, whether that be a worker, what have you, or how do we get around that one?
Well, there is the entrance on MLK.
So that's where you're going to then be redirecting them when they get to that point, or I'm just trying, because you're gonna have a lot of U-turns. I'm just trying to understand.
But hopefully they won't get to that point because the rest of the road will be closed. So once they reach, if they're going from MLK and they get to Washington Street, they shouldn't be able to continue on Washington Street.
So they will not be able to make a left onto Washington Street. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any further comment or discussion?
Well, if they're coming south on Martin Luther King and they're normally turning left onto Washington Street, they won't be able to make that left turn. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
So where are the detour signs to tell them where to go?
It would be at the end of Washington Street and as well at the end of Madison.
Now, I think she's asking if I'm correct, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Collier-Clemens. How soon before Washington Street may they be warned that they need to enter on Martin Luther King entrance rather than Washington Street? Because by that point, they get to Washington Street, it's too late. Then what?
Commissioner, if I may, last year there was an officer posted right at the intersection of Martin Luther King and Washington. So they'll see the lights in the barrels, and we could put up a VMS sign right at that corner directing people to take a left onto Monroe Street, go up one block and take a left.
Okay.
I think that's what we did last year.
Okay.
All right.
Commissioner Collier-Clemens, does that satisfy your question?
Well, Chief, clarify that for me. You're going south on Martin Luther King. There's a police officer in barrels at Washington Street. For them to go up one block, which would be Madison, right? Or is that?
But that's closed too.
Yeah, the VMS, yes, the VE, you are both correct. The VMS sign will state go to take a left turn onto Monroe Street. That's the next viable traffic option. There'll be two lefts.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next, we have item number 6. Can I get a motion on that?
I will
make a
put a motion
motion.
to bring forward the annual Wall Street Wonderland.
I believe this is Ms. Brialt also,
Yes, thank you.
pretty much the same as last year.
Yep, exact same closure. The event is from 4 to 7, but I think we're requesting it from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. We're doing it this early because the stage won't be on the side next to the tree anymore. We didn't like that positioning. So they're going to be going more in the street this year. Also, it will just prevent cars from entering that parking lot right where the garage is on River Street, entering and exiting during the event. So if we can just prevent that earlier on, that would be better.
Okay. Any questions from the authority or the police department?
I have none.
This
So-
this is the second year that we've had this, right?
This is the 3rd year, actually.
Third year, okay. Missed one.
Yeah, Mayor, no concern. This traffic pattern's not a
Yep.
problem.
Okay. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, that brings us to item 7. Can I have a motion to move that forward for
I
discussion?
move item 7 forward for discussion and approval.
Okay, who is going to handle this to explain to the commission what's going on?
I believe it'll be Alex DeBella, Mayor. If whoever is in control could please raise him to
So
the panel.
This is the one from Fort Point Street,
Yes,
Fort Point Street from South Smith all the way to Moore Place.
yes.
Okay, I'd like to, this is an issue. So we need to discuss this.
Yes.
So
Could whoever's in control please raise Mr. DeBella? Thank you.
may I see him there? Mr. DeBella, you're muted. Okay, now you're okay.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
All right. Yes, so Eversource, in support of the Walk Bridge program, is installing structures near the Metro North Railroad tracks to convert to underground through the city. We've discussed this project previously at previous meetings. Working with CDOT specifically at Fort Point Street and the city DPW, GMP department here, we understood the challenges of closing Fort Point Street and how critical it is to South Norwalk particularly. We spent a good amount of time looking at alternatives and any means and methods we could find to avoid a full closure. And unfortunately, when we are working, it will not be possible due to the size of the equipment that will be required to get this structure in place. So working again with the city and the state, we elected to shift our proposed work hours to night times, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then during those days, we will actually remove the large equipment from the work area, returning one lane from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to reduce the burden on traffic. During that time, truck traffic would be detoured to Triangle Street, where they can cross above the tracks, and vehicular traffic heading north would utilize East Avenue. Vehicular traffic heading south would use South Smith Street. Again, during the days, we would only have one lane closed and could allow traffic, semi-traffic underneath that bridge. We intend to start this work on November 3rd, coordinated with the, I believe, the two activities that are following me on this agenda. And we are approximating about 4 weeks to complete this scope of work. Are there any
So-
questions?
So from no,
Any comments from the commission or the police department?
So, Mr. DeBello, you made a reference to during the day, one side of the street. I'm looking at the diagrams. I'm just having somewhat of a difficult time. Are you able to share screen and show us exactly what you were referring to? when you
Yes, sir, I
made
can.
mention to the streets and the exit to Smith Street?
Yes, sir, I can.
If
Let
you
me
would, I would
just
kindly appreciate
figure
it.
this out. Sorry, I'm not more of a Microsoft Teams person than a Zoom person, but all right,
Okay,
can
we
you
have it.
guys see this?
Yes, we can.
I was looking at that, yeah.
Okay. So during the work, we'll start with during the work, the full closure. We are installing the new structure slightly shifted from the old structure that exists there. Again, the reason I can't have one lane open during this time is because of that total footprint of the crane with the outriggers extended, and then the amount of tooling and accessory equipment that is required to install this foundation. Then, so this would be implemented every night around 7 p.m. and we would get as much work done as possible until we're getting into that morning rush hour traffic, where we would then walk our equipment across the street into the Van Zant parking lot into our existing construction easement. And we would take the smaller pieces that can remain and you leave them in a protected one lane area and have an officer there to facilitate the one lane alternating traffic. So the big items, our drill, our truck drives right off site, our drill and our crane and loader are parked across the street in our existing easement in a parking lot, and the items that cannot be moved are tucked neatly against the wall and coned off.
So you have an arrow here going in both directions. Is that two-way? Is that what I'm understanding? With that one lane?
It would be one lane alternating controlled by an officer.
Got it.
So let me clarify that. From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., you're going to have two-way traffic, but controlled one lane at a time. You'll have an officer at the far end and one over by the railroad bridge, and they'll be controlling traffic, letting both ways go through.
Well, there would be two lanes underneath the bridge.
Yeah.
That's not restricted. The only area that is restricted is right here. And you know, we will work with the officers that were assigned to implement the safest solution that exists. If you know, cars can easily make the detour from this point to I guess that's Reynolds, then down South Smith, and avoid it entirely. It's the semi trucks and the deliveries that this bridge is critical for that are really our concern here. And we will work with the detail officers to ensure that we choose the route that is best, whether we want everybody alternating through this area or whether that creates too much of a concern and a holdup, and reserve that for semi trucks. That decision has yet to be made, but this is certainly something we can support with what we're proposing.
So during the evening hours, Mr. DeBala, when everything is actually both lanes are then closed, the detour traffic will be instructed to, in other words, to avoid that area, correct?
Yes, so during a full closure, the semi trucks will need to detour over to Triangle Street, where it's an overhead crossing of the tracks. Northbound car traffic will be directed over to East Ave, and southbound traffic can hit Reynolds, South Smith, and still pass through underneath the bridge, as shown by that green arrow.
that's at night from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And we can't push the 7 p.m. later to like 9, because 7 p.m. is still somewhat in there, you know, the tail end of the, you know, peak traffic.
Yeah, so What we've been working on, state roads, for instance, Water Street on the other side of the river have been, to your point, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. I would not say that it is impossible at all. The only thing that I would want to point out is that the more we're limited in work hours per night, the longer we're going to have to go through this. We certainly are going to be losing a lot of efficiency, moving and resetting up every night and every morning. We understand that it's worth the loss of efficiency in order to return one lane of traffic. So I guess to answer your question plainly, yes, we could start later, we could end earlier. We'll just be losing productivity, and it could add days onto our schedule.
What if, while the weather is good, because I know you mentioned that you're going to be doing this for probably at least a month. It sounds to me, although 7 o'clock is a time when people are usually coming home at that time. However, in terms of productivity, while the weather is good, it sounds to me like it makes sense to be able to do as much as you can or as fast as you can. So that's just my take on the traffic.
Right, and certainly we have regular communication with the chief, with the police department, with the DPW, TMP. If things are not working out and that 7 p.m. start time is causing too much of a interference to local traffic, we could elect to go later. We're obviously going to do what we're directed to and allowed to do. This is our initial proposal to remain as effective as possible and efficient as possible, I think would be a better word.
And not only that, I realize that the project being such a large project, it will take time, and sometimes you probably have to try to work things out. But it sounds like you do have a plan. You're not just kind of coming off the cuff, so to speak. And it sounds like a project that, as you go on longer and longer, because I think this entire walk bridge is going to take about at least 3 years.
Well, sir, I can't speak to the entire walk bridge program. I'm only leading the effort, Eversource effort. But I would emphasize that we have taken a very hard look at the whole project, but this area as well, and played quite a game of Tetris here in order to fit this equipment in this area. It's a very tight area, and I'm excited to get it over with as much as I'm sure you are as well.
What about concerns with noise? I mean, you're going to be there at night. You're going to have, obviously earth moving machines and so forth. So my question is, how do we deal with that?
Yes, so I do have information on the amount of decibels that would be generated from all these pieces of equipment. The loudest piece of equipment actually isn't any, the only earth moving piece of equipment per se would be the drill itself. It's actually quieter than the generator that is needed to run for some of our other equipment. I have had conversations with the DPW about this. I would also like to keep in mind that we're not going to be the only ones in this area working at night. We have a robust outreach plan that includes going door to door, issuing letters and discussing with members of the public if they are interested in more information ahead of this work that we will be implementing next month as we ramp up to prepare for our November 3rd start date. So we're going to do everything we possibly can to limit that amount of noise. Essentially, it was never our preferred alternative to work at night. It's a balancing act of the impact to traffic in the city and the impact of the noise, really. And we do not anticipate it being a major concern. If it does turn out to be, if we get complaints and and we field some complaints, we're going to do everything we can to make those right. And we'll have to take a look at how we're approaching this challenge. So I guess my answer to you is we're prepared for, we thought about that. We have some steps in place to get ahead of it, and we will react accordingly in the event that it is bothering folks.
Mr. DeBella, these letters that are going to go out and the contact and communication that you will have with this residents in the area, will there be a contact person that they can reach if they have complaints that will respond to them?
Yes, ma'am. We have folks who go door to door, physically talk to each and all of these people who leave their cards and their numbers. There is a general Eversource hotline that then directs you to the appropriate person for each project. But they should be meeting that person initially, unless they aren't home at the time when that person comes around. But this has been a strategy that you know, Eversource implements all over Connecticut. It's a strategy that we've been implementing on Elizabeth Street. When I presented to you, I must have been February of this year. And you know, we got a few complaints along the way. We met with those people, we figured out what the challenge was, and we made it right. Folks are able to get in contact with us, and it has worked out very well for us so far.
Okay, because that's very frustrating when you say you have a way in which people can reach out to you, and then they use that method and they can't get someone. The frustration levels rise and complaints rise.
I can certainly understand it, and I would be frustrated if I was in that situation. But no, I'm quite confident, 100% confident that there is a general hotline that is on that letter that goes out. During the door-to-door outreach, they leave individual points of contact. And of course, I've been in touch with the DPW and the police quite regularly throughout this. And if, God forbid, something does get escalated to them, someone isn't aware of that Eversource hotline or they lost that card, those folks do reach out to me, and we do address those concerns.
Mr. DeBella, if this were to be approved, is there any possible way, I know you're sending out the letters, but over and above this, as a proactive measure, that you can consider meeting with the Community Organizations Association and just maybe share this information and let them know we've sent out the letters, and any issues or concerns, we'd like to hear that?
So I have absolutely no issue doing that. I'll have to talk to my community outreach team members on that support me on this project, who would have more information on who is in those organizations, when those meetings happen, and how to coordinate and organize one of those. But I personally have no issue speaking and addressing questions from the public on one of these.
Is there any concern about truck traffic through the local residential neighborhoods as the trucks are diverted?
I believe you'd be referring to Winfield and Strawberry Hill.
Correct.
Well, the advantage of reverting those trucks through the night is that there should be a lot less of them. The unfortunate aspect of that is that it is at night. We did not initially include this expanded area in our outreach plan. But to your point of increased truck traffic in those residential areas, it wouldn't be, we could certainly take a look at including the folks along the direct route and including them in those letters.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I just want to go back a little bit, revisit that area you talked about contacting, and you mentioned the number. Now, the number that you have, although it's Eversource, it's not a regular Eversource number where you call and then they tell you, please wait, please hold on, right back, we'll be there. And then they sometimes even flip you to another number. And I'm hoping that the persons that live in that area won't have to go through that. Can you?
Yes.
guarantee that it's something different?
In this exact moment, I cannot guarantee you that. I personally have never had to dial the Eversource hotline number. From my understanding, the Eversource hotline number puts you in touch with it is not the general customer service number. It is a hotline number for project specific issues that directs you to someone at an Eversource corporate office who has a list of projects in that area and the contact points for those projects that then gets you to that person on the ground. As I just want to reiterate, I know it wasn't your question, there will be members from my team going door to door and speaking with these folks, leaving them door hangers with the information and a direct contact information. But to your point, we all know, we've all come home from the end of the day, seen a letter on our door and immediately thrown it out and not looked at it. If that's the case, that is where those other project hotline information comes into effect.
Okay, now, the start date is November 3rd.
That is the plan.
Okay, and the plan is for it to take 30 days.
That is what we're assuming. This is longer than the other foundations have taken us, but that is because of the setup and breakdown time at the beginning and end of each shift. But this was based on productivity that we had in the police department, at Sono Gardens, in the Van Zant property, then with the applied loss of productivity. So we're expecting about 3 weeks to complete the actual drilling and the installation of the can. That would be followed by a few days of pouring the concrete and setting that foundation in place and then getting off site.
One last question, Mr. DiBella, on the calendar there that you have. So, and I'm not looking at what day of the week that might be, but somewhere in there towards the end, we have a holiday, right? And I'm just trying to see what, how you plan to hopefully maybe mitigate the increased traffic during that time.
Yeah, well, our crews are not going to be working on Thanksgiving, I believe is the holiday we're referring to here. We would be in the one lane alternating configuration during that holiday. We would not be able to fully mobilize offsite during that time.
I'm really referring to maybe the time leading up to the holiday, not the actual holiday.
So,
because that's when it gets busy 3-4 days before, right? Normally, that's when usually traffic picks up.
Thanksgiving is the 28th.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
I actually thought it was the 26th.
No, it's the 28th.
That answers that question. Thank you, Mayor.
Any further comment or discussion?
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
I just work closely with the police department to make sure that it's properly staffed. Also, I'm sure you're aware of the fact that the city of Norwalk has a noise ordinance. And in order to get a waiver on the noise ordinance, you need to speak with the health department. If it gets to be a problem, you may have to reach out to the health department and ask them for a waiver, just for your edification.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If none, then all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Now it brings us to item 8 and 9. We've had a public request to delay voting on those until the October meeting. I do not have a problem with that. I think it might be a response to the community that we may wish to consider. If we wish to table this, that would come back up on the October meeting, which would be a month from today, to give them an opportunity to look at the items and comment on or feel comfortable with.
Those who made the request. Is there a problem with it? Because I didn't hear anyone mention if there's no problem. I think it's really a good idea to allow the community.
Miss Cece, who is the head of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association, was the only public commenter, and she said that since items 8 and 9 are not really time sensitive, she asked if we would consider it, and I said, well, I'm sure that will come up in discussion. So I don't know if the commissioner or the authority has any comment on that.
I don't have any comment except that from the aspect of the utility companies, I just don't have the vaguest idea of what they may suggest that doing so may, in other words, imperil the whole project. I have no idea.
Mhm.
So, I mean, is anybody from Frontier? Can they speak to that?
There is Emilio Flores and some other people from Frontier who are raising their hand if they could be brought up to
Okay.
them.
I don't know.
You know, I'm pretty certain that they wouldn't, if they've got this plan in place, they just want to know what the plan is. And unless they came up with some sort of significant issue, I don't think the plan would be subject to change. But I think we have Mr. Emilio Flores from DOT raising his hand. Would you unmute him?
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, commissioners, officers, and Mayor Riley for taking the time to discuss this with us. I do hear Diane Cece's point and understand her concerns. I do want to point out that, as you alluded to earlier, Mayor Riley, this is a massive project with lots of moving parts. I think one of the best ways we can serve the community is to hear your concerns and have time to react to them and implement the changes that you wish. If we move the meeting to October, we're going to be right up against construction activities. So any requests for change would be very difficult for us to implement. I think all of the concerns that Diane Cece brought up are valid and make sense and are just part of the pain of having a major project in town, which is going to have tremendous benefits. You know, we're going to have a few years of pain here, and then afterward, we're going to have a 4-lane throughway on East Avenue with historic lighting and big sidewalks and plenty of room for trucks to get through the area. So, you know, yes, there's some major pain, but there's some major improvements coming. They're not far away. I think the saying, you know, pull the Band-Aid off is relevant here. And I would ask that the commission reconsider tabling and hear Frontier's proposal. And I believe we have a proposal for Strawberry Hill as well, sooner rather than later, so that any of the changes that the commissioners or the officers wish us to do, we can consider and we can start planning alternatives. Both of these procedures, these operations take a lot of coordination between a lot of different utilities, a lot of different contractors, subcontractors, and they're just a lot more cumbersome to move around than may initially be perceived. Another point I'd like to speak to with Diane, I understand, and we've heard it from members of the public before, that it appears that, you know, we're digging up a hole and we're kind of putting it back and digging a hole and putting it back. I get that that would be the perception. I just want to take one moment to speak to that. All of these bridges that we're working are very, very old along that corridor and very, very delicate. We've already had a couple of emergency procedures we've had to put in place. So when we work along them, when the contractors and the utilities are working next to these bridges, we can't open up large areas and undermine the structure of the bridge. We have to open up small areas and work methodically and in small sections. And that does kind of drag out the time, and it makes people feel as though we're not making progress. We are all, the contractor, the Department of Transportation, and our partners in the utilities are all interested in getting this done in a timely manner. I promise you that. We do have a welcome center for any members of the public, for any community organizations that wish to come in. They're welcome to come in. They can meet in person. We have multiple points of contact, including Stephanie Pelletier, which she mentioned earlier. So she is in contact with our liaison. They're welcome to come in, as is anybody, to get information or to give us feedback And I would like to believe you've probably heard positively about us addressing those concerns. That being said, I would request that we keep these items on the agenda for today.
So, Mr. Flores, if I may ask, you mentioned, and I may have missed, any other additional items. You said it would undermine, in other words, the ability to coordinate with vendors and so forth. Can you explicitly state or restate, if necessary, what specific hindrances would cause Frontier if this was to be delayed?
Sure. For example, Frontier did a great job. Somebody brought up at the last traffic authority meeting their concern for pedestrians. So Frontier's response was, in my opinion, above and beyond. They took your concern very seriously, and they purchased and mobilized chain link fence to go around the entire perimeter of their work area. So to do that, they had to reach out, find a contractor to get this chain link fence, have it delivered to the site, and a process for assembling that and preparing that. If we only have a week or two, or we're pressed for time, our ability to respond to your requests is hampered.
Mr. Flores, you also mentioned that you have a welcome center. In addition to that, do you have a way of letting people know, is it on a sign or something, that if there are any concerns that they can, or if they just want to know a little bit more about the project, that the welcome center is open to the public? Because oftentimes I'm not certain if people even walk by, even if they know where it is, know that it's really open to the public.
Thank you, Commissioner Sumter. Yep, the Welcome Center is open to the public, and we have a very robust public outreach team. So before any of these operations or closures, they go door to door, their information is passed out. They have an email list that they work with, so that it's being emailed and distributed well in advance of any operations. That also lends itself to having this meeting early and having us on the agenda today, so we can have accurate information disseminated to the public via email, door to door, and at the Welcome Center.
Where's the Welcome Center located?
It's right across the street from the aquarium. I believe it's 10 Water Street. And Commissioner Sumter, if you ever would like to get some information, please come on down. I'm there every Thursday. I'd be happy to kind of give you a rundown of the up and coming operations.
Thank you.
So,
Mr. Flores,
Yes.
is it possible for the address and the hours of operation for the information center to be distributed to Mrs. CC and the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association?
Absolutely. I believe we've actually hosted them at our Welcome Center, and I know that she's in touch with Stephanie Pelletier, who's the primary point of contact running the Welcome Center. But I will absolutely make sure that that happens tomorrow, that we reiterate that and make sure that that connection is established. Commissioner Clemens.
Thank you. Now, she was concerned about item 8 and item 9. We are discussing item 8, but I just flipped ahead to item 9 to see that you all did have public hearings in July and also in August, but it was with the businesses, as far as I see on the information we have, and not particularly with residents that are going to be affected by the roadways around that area. So my question is, were there some public hearings done on item number 8 also?
Commissioner Clemens, I believe so. I can't speak to that with certainty, but if it hasn't, I will make sure that it does happen.
All right. Time seems.
Mr. Flores, is there a, I'm sorry, are you?
No, go ahead, Ron.
Okay, thank you. Is there a time frame that would work that we could get the East Norwalk Association involved that wouldn't cause you an issue? Like if we were able to get it wrapped up, and I don't know that this is possible by the end of September? Give them an opportunity and then
Sure, Commissioner Palladino, my question would be, would we be able to have the traffic authority vote on the closures, or would we still be forced to present at the October meeting?
and to that, I'd have to defer to Mayor Rilling.
I appreciate the discussion, and I certainly appreciate Miss Cece getting on and having her feelings known. As I've listened to Mr. Flores, I believe that any delay might cause that disruption that he was referring to regarding aligning the vendors, making sure everybody's up. There's so much work going on, not only in Norwalk, but around the state, that some of these vendors may have to commit their time. And then if this gets disrupted and there's any problem, it could cause problems for getting them here at all, and might delay the process. I think with the amount of time between now, for item number 8, between now and December 2nd, and going into the item number 9, which would be August 26th or July 25th and August 26th to May 27. That's a long time out. And I think that reaching out to the East Norwalk community and having any discussions, they can work for any problems that they might foresee. I think that, I understand what Mr. Flores is saying, and I know how complex it is to align all the vendors and getting everybody together and making sure that, you have to do certain things in certain orders. And I think we should move forward with it, and then make sure we have a comprehensive outreach to Ms. Cece and the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association, as well as others.
Thank you, Mayor Riley and Commissioner Palladino. I can guarantee that we will reach out to Diane Cece, and I believe it's the East Avenue or East Norwalk Association, and hear their concerns and do everything we can to address them.
And I know we've had the closure under the bridge from Fort Point Street to, Winfield Street. And the detours have been marked. People can easily navigate around them. I haven't gotten any complaints, and I don't know if the police department has, but I haven't gotten any complaints or concerns about that.
We do rely heavily on the Norwalk Police Department. Their officers are always out in sufficient force. We have 2 or 3 for all of these closures and detours. So I'll take the opportunity to thank them. They've always been very supportive and are instrumental in making this run smoothly. So thank you.
We have to move the item number 1. If item number 8, if anybody would like to move that, and then we can continue the discussion.
I'd like to move item number 8 with regard to the full closure for Frontier utility workers and the walk bridge.
Okay. So comments and discussion from the commission, and any thoughts on my comments relative to allowing them to reach out to the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association, because they do have a bit of time to be able to clarify any questions or answer any, to try to make any changes they feel necessary.
Well, I think it's a great idea that they do reach out to the East Norwalk Association and to any other communities throughout the city that need to hear from them at this time. And a little bit with regard to having to put things off, I don't think it's a good idea, simply because as you move throughout the year, and with the weather, there may be other reasons for slowdown. So I think that as you're building, you want to continue to be on schedule, and not only on schedule, but ahead of schedule. If you're ahead of schedule, then sometimes you can do some things to make part of the project move on time or either ahead of time. But it's a good idea in terms of your planning to be able to have things in order so that things can move rapidly.
Commissioner Lopez, I think you had a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the sentiment or thought or suggestion that the engagement and communication with the community and the business community both, that I think is the most important thing here. Because that's obviously that's going to engage people and let them know in advance. So if that could be done, we really would appreciate that, Mr. Flores.
I will absolutely make that a priority for the program.
Okay, are there any further comments or discussion either by the authority or the police department? Concerns?
I have none.
Mayor, I just had one. The previous discussion that we just had on 4 Point Street had a beginning date at the beginning of November. And I saw that the close date was towards the end of November. This project is slated to begin December 2nd. So I know in previous Walkbridge projects, they've run into delays. So we may just need to consider that we could have a 4 Point and South Smith Street closure at the same time as the East Avenue and 4 Point closure, which could really cause some gridlock. So, because I don't think they gave a definite close date for the previous project that we were discussing, the previous item, because it appears that they're going right up against each other.
May I speak to that?
Yes.
Sure. Okay, so this particular operation is, I understand that sensitive operations may run into situations where they can't stop something as a road, equipment's on the road, or a structure is not secured. This particular operation is not one of those. Should we come to the end of the permitted closure, it will just be wrapped up. It's just a hole in the ground, it'll be filled, and we will proceed forward. With just about absolute certainty, I can say we will not be running past the closure duration in this in Frontier's operation.
Thank you. I was talking about the project that's going to be before yours.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, the one that's running in November, the one that Alex discussed from Eversource. It had a November 3rd start date.
3rd, yes.
Yeah, and I don't believe if he gave a definite close date. And I know that in various projects, the delay, so we may just have to consider that we could have 2 road closures, significant road closures within a very close distance. And currently Osborne is closed underneath the bridge also for the walk bridge.
So Chief, he did outline on the date on the calendar. I know the dates are very tight because I see here the 26 or 27, whatever, and we talked about before the holidays, but yet the reality is that yes, it could be an overrun, in which case I recall him having a level of flexibility. I don't know if that plays into this.
He did mention that it would be 30 days, that they have allotted 30 days based upon 12 hours of work each night.
Okay. I think, the police department working with Eversource, monitoring that project and making sure that we do everything we can to reroute traffic if there is any delay, but I would hope that there's not any delay on Eversource. I don't think there was an indication that there could be. And again, that's only from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. The rest of the time, it'll be open for two-way traffic, but obviously with a police officer there or a flag person there, making sure that they stop traffic one way so the other traffic can proceed through.
Understood, Mayor. What I'll do is I'll touch base with Alex and Emilio in the coming week to make sure that we're all on the same page for November and December. Will do.
Yep, thank you. Any further discussion or comment?
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
Okay, hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Flores. Next, we have item number 9. Mr. Flores, are you speaking to that as well? I'm not sure.
I believe Mr. Jeff Bird is talking about one, Mr. Mayor. If,
Okay.
I don't know if Darlene is running the meeting or someone else, if they could just raise him. then
Can I
that'd be great.
I have somebody
I
move that item?
I move item 9 for discussion and approval.
Okay, do we have someone from who's going to speak on this? Is this the DOT?
Yeah, could someone please raise Mr. Jeff Bird, and I'm not sure if Amelia needs to be raised as well. Oh, thank you, sir.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great,
Yes, we can.
terrific. Thank you. Wonderful. And thank you for taking the time to hear us out and let us move this attempt to move this forward. My name is Jeff Bird. I'm with the project manager, program manager, excuse me, for the Walk Bridge project, and I'll be presenting a request to close Strawberry Hill from Fitch Street to Winfield Street. This is, as we stated before, in support of the overall Walk Bridge program. This Strawberry Hill closure, or this particular scope of work, was added a little after the original scope because we have such an intricate and thought out phasing approach to specifically the railroad operations, and being all the infrastructure that we've constructed under the Walk Bridge program to facilitate the phasing and staging. It just made sense to add this one additional bridge to accompany the Fort Point, East Avenue, and Osborne work we originally had in the scope. So this is somewhat recent, but it just made sense to do this work while we have 2-track operational phasing for the project. The approach would be to do the first phase, like we said earlier, from January to July of 2025. So January 2nd would be the goal, to go ahead and close Strawberry Hill. Under this operation, we would be closing, reconstructing the north side. That's the 2 tracks, southbound tracks heading down to New York. This is a superstructure replacement, very similar to what we're doing at Osborne. The detour path would be primarily to East Avenue. We have, in fact, I could probably present my screen here if I could figure it out. I don't know how to share.
Jeff, I can share it for you if you tell me what slide you want.
It would be the very first slide. I guess we could just kind of run it through. Thank you. Thank you very much, Benjamin. All right, we did put together this little presentation that's certainly included in the agenda. This is just the first slide. The next one, please, Ben. Yeah, so this outlines our opening, like I said. The detour routes have been coordinated amongst the various other local bridge detours and closures we have throughout the program. One good thing is that we are managing all these local bridge closures on East Norwalk going through the Walk Bridge project. So we've gone into great depths to make sure the coordination is correct and we don't have multiple closures and detours running into each other. There is a future slide that I can run through that will show you a nice schedule, a bar chart schedule that shows you where we have the detours and how we'll be plan to enact those. Yeah, we can go on to the next one, please. This is just an overview of the project's work limits. Like I said, we will be replacing the superstructure of Strawberry Hill Avenue and detouring traffic along Winfield and Fitch. So this is our primary detour right here. We will be looking to move traffic over to East Avenue. That's the shortest and most convenient for the traveling public to use. There will be occasions where we will have East Avenue at least partially closed during this operation, and that will be kind of alternate, very specialized and very local detours. And again, that'll be displayed in a future slide. Yep, we can go ahead and move forward. Thank you. I don't know if you all can see this very well or if it can be zoomed in a bit, but we did take a look at all those 4 main bridges that we had talked about and put together a chart of the various types and durations of closures we're anticipating through the middle of 2027. That's when we anticipate being through with at least our local impacts. The first line here is Strawberry Hill. That closes continuously in January. We do have, as someone stated earlier, a closure right now of Osborne Avenue. So for the first 2 months or month or so of the closure, we will be using East Avenue as the direct detour. When we do run up into, as you can see, around April 26th, we do go into some weekend closures of East Avenue. At that time, when needed, again, these are just weekends. So during those weekends, we will divert traffic over to Osborne Avenue, which by then will be open. And that will be the case through the remainder of the first anticipated closure, to do the north side. There will be a period between the two phases, or two operations, or two closures, I should say, while we are able to reopen Strawberry Hill to traffic, and that's when we get prepared to do the second half. That would be the south side. So on August 20th, right now is the plan. On 2026, we would go into our second closure. At this point, Osborne Avenue is closed, so we will be using East Avenue again for the earlier portions until Osborne is reopened, and then we would be using Osborne for the duration of that closure. I guess I would ask if there's any questions on this particular slide, and this is kind of a lot, but by all means, if there's any questions. If not, maybe we can just go to the next one.
I do have a question. I'm sorry. I got a phone call in a minute.
Oh, sure.
These other, it looks like we're just voting, number one, unless there's something else coming. We're just voting on Strawberry Hill Avenue. Have all these other projects, I don't recall if they've come before the commission?
Yes, Mayor, they absolutely
Okay.
have. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
This is exclusively for Strawberry Hill, and it's
Okay.
only because it was added a little later on in the
Okay.
schedule.
Very good.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, and if you can maybe, and that I know we were talking a lot about public outreach earlier in the presentation, and I would say that we did have a public meeting on July 25th of last year. This was like it stated, a public meeting. All local residents and community members were invited to attend. We did specifically talk about this proposed detour plan. We did have about 40 people attend the meeting. At the meeting itself, there were no concerns raised. We did offer a period of until August 8th, so a few weeks after, to 2 weeks after, to entertain any official comments, of which we did receive none. We do have regular stakeholder engagement and outreach. We specifically did do some targeted outreach in advance of the July 25th, 2023 meeting to the various business owners and abutters. This would be considered targeted outreach to various businesses, which are laid out here. We did, as it said, the information was well received, and we received no concerns during this outreach. And we do entertain and do host monthly stakeholder meetings. We do this regularly, and we have done since for quite some time, where we invite all the public owners, public users, stakeholders to attend. And that's when we give monthly updates, more specific updates of what's coming up the next month or so, as well as a look ahead of about 3 months. We do certainly have a public webpage, which is walkbridgect.com. We absolutely do have links on that website to provide or submit any questions or comments or concerns or inquiries that the public has. As it was mentioned before, we do have the Welcome Center, which is on 24 Marshall Street, here at the intersection of Marshall Street and North Water Street. We have it staffed by Stephanie primarily every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 12 to 4. So if anybody would like to, please come visit us. We do have it staffed with Stephanie, who would be certainly able to answer pretty much all of your questions. If there were anything more technical, we have a staff here of engineers also that could entertain any questions or concerns in support of Stephanie's effort. So
As we requested from Mr. Flores, we would appreciate if you would reach out to the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association, offer them an opportunity perhaps for a meeting to come and express any concerns or have a full explanation of what this project involves. I think this project here is probably less inconvenient than some of the others that we talked about, especially the Moore Place to South Smith Street. But yeah, if you could do that as well, just to make sure that, I get it. There's a lot happening in East Norwalk, and necessarily so. And I feel their pain because there can be some inconvenient things. But I think after all is said and done, things will be much nicer for them as far as traveling and as far as aesthetics. So I just think they need to hear a little bit more and be comfortable with what you're planning.
absolutely. Yep. I would just mention, we did host, like somebody said earlier, an East Norwalk Neighborhood Association meeting back in February of this year. So we would certainly be willing to do something similar again, or if whatever you'd like us to do.
Any discussion or comment from the commission? From the police department?
No, sir.
Okay, all in favor of approving this item number 9?
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Byrd.
Welcome.
And now we need a motion to move item number 10 forward.
I'll make a motion that we move item number 10 forward.
I know we have Paul Sotnick here, and I think everybody knows that this bridge is going to be repaired and we need to do it. So, Paul, if you could kind of just bring us up to date.
Good afternoon, Mayor Rilling and Commissioners of the Traffic Authority. The City of Norwalk, through the Department of Public Works Operations and Engineering Division, has received federal and state funding for the replacement of the existing bridge, as Mayor Rilling had mentioned, over the 5 Mile River. The bridge was originally constructed in 1910. The existing bridge is a narrow bridge that has no shoulders, no sidewalk, and within the bridge parapets, and there is a sidewalk pedestrian bridge that's suspended on the south side of the southerly parapet. This particular bridge was rated as being structurally deficient and susceptible to scour in the routine bridge inspection dated July 19th of 22 and the underwater bridge inspection dated August 10th of 22 that were conducted by the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation. DPW has been working with the city's bridge design engineer for this particular project, Alfred Bonesh and Company, and has completed plans for the project. The demolition and replacement of the existing bridge structure will require the closure of West Cedar Street at both ends of the bridge. Beechwood Road is I can share the screen for the detour.
What's that?
Mr. Byrd, I think.
Oh,
you're
sorry.
unmuted here. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
And the detour map is essentially around West Cedar Street, down West Norwalk Road, to Connecticut Avenue, to Richards Avenue, and back to West Cedar Street. And I want to mention basically that what we were planning on doing, and I can blow this area up now, Beechwood Road is a horseshoe that goes around in a loop, and it has an easterly leg and a westerly leg. And I'll blow this section up a little bit more so that you can see it. Is that good for everybody to see?
Where's Beechwood? Point it out.
Beechwood Road. This is the westerly leg of Beechwood Road.
Yep.
And what we plan on doing it is basically closing West Cedar Street at the westerly side of the westerly leg of Beechwood to the bridge and the west side of the bridge. And that closure will basically detour traffic in accordance with the plan that I had just mentioned. And the locations of this particular closure in this area, from the barricades on the west side to the westerly leg of Beechwood Road, are set up so that no residential or commercial driveways fall within the closed and barricaded portion of the roadway. It is anticipated, based on the construction schedule, that it would be closed from April 1st of 25 through November 30th of 25, but only as long as necessary. So we're essentially requesting permission to close this portion of the road at the bridge for the full demolition and replacement of the bridge. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Commissioners, any comments or questions? The only thing I have is Beechwood is going to be getting a lot of traffic. Am I correct?
Anybody that comes out, because we're going to have the detour, and I'll go back a little bit, I'll zoom back out to the detour leg. It would only be people that would be coming out of the college, and there's another driveways for the college, and people could come down the detour on West Norwalk Road to Connecticut Avenue and Richards. So it would only be people that were within that area that would
Gotcha. Okay.
have that loop. And like I said, and I can blow this up a little bit more to make it a little easier to see, this Beechwood Road area right here is a horseshoe.
Yep.
So the residents can come out either side, and then it's only the driveway of the college that comes out in this area of West Cedar Street. And we've been in contact with the college. We've been in contact with Dr. DeLallo's office, and we'll be talking with them again. And one other sign that we will have added is we're going to have a business open sign in this area here so that people do realize that his dental practice is open for business.
And you'll have something at West Cedar and Richards, am I correct?
Yes, there'll be, in terms of the business or in terms of just the detour route.
Detour routes.
Yes, there'll be signs all the way down through the detour route.
Okay. Commissioners or department?
Are there any environmental issues with the 5 Mile River?
Any of those issues will be taken care of with the project itself. There will be items set up to control any debris getting into the river. There's coffer dams to protect the river, and all of the appropriate measures will be taken related to the demolition and anything getting into the 5 Mile River. So it'll be fully protected in an environmentally friendly manner.
So, Mr. Stockman, can you review? I see the detour. I see the whole, going through Connecticut Avenue. I'm trying to understand at which point they're going to be detoured before they have to come back down and up Connecticut Avenue. In other words, in a circle, a box, or square. Is that what I'm saying or what I'm understanding?
Basically, in this area along here is Dr. DeLallo's office. So it would only be people coming out there. They would be sent down West Norwalk Road and then out to Connecticut Avenue. And then if they wanted to go West Cedar Street, they could come back up Richards and then go out West Cedar Street. This area here, you only have the residents in the loop of Beechwood, which can go out this way. And then if they were looking to go to the west on Connecticut Avenue, they can still do that. Or if they want to go up West Norwalk Road, they would come back down around Connecticut Avenue, up West Norwalk Road, and up like that. And as I mentioned, there's no residents in this area here. You only have Dr. DeLallo's business here, and then you have the residents here, and then just a college, which people from the college will be directed out toward Richards Avenue.
Will there be a notice at some point, maybe on West Cedar, where it would say residents only? Because if you come down, you go down through that area, then they have no choice but to go back around Beechwood.
We can add a sign in there for residents only, yes.
Okay.
Do you have a policeman on duty at all times while this work is being done?
Okay, what's gonna happen is in accordance with the protective measures ordinance, we will have police officers, and this is a collector road. We will have police officers anytime that there's construction being done outside the barricades, setting up the barricades, installing the signs. But while they're working within the barricades on the actual structure, the road is closed on both sides with the signage, the stop signs, bridge closed. We weren't going to have a police officer in the middle of the construction site where there's no traffic. But there will be police officers anytime there's work on the street, setting up, installing the barricades, installing the signs, and doing anything like that. There would be police officers utilized. We've called for them in the project.
Further comment or discussion?
I have none.
Hearing none, all in favor of approving this project?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Now we have item number 11. Can I get somebody to move that?
Thank you.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Lopez moves it. And I think Mr. Brendermeyer is going to take it.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm Drew Berlemeyer. I'm with the City of Norwalk Public Works Department. I'm a senior engineer, and I'm here to discuss Witch Lane, which we hope to reconstruct between Highland Avenue and Hunt Street. This particular portion of Witch Lane is extremely narrow, and so we don't anticipate being able to complete the type of work which we're looking to do. So we're looking to reclaim the road, regrade the road, repave the road, and establish new curbing and a newer sidewalk. Restore the sidewalk to be wider than it currently is. It's a footpath that's very narrow over there. So both the roadway and the walkway are both narrow, and when we have this heavy equipment out there, we don't anticipate being able to do alternating traffic the way that we can accommodate many other streets that we repave. This is a very narrow, much more narrow street than a lot of the roads that we're typically working on. So because of that, we do anticipate closing the road to through traffic during those phases of construction. But we'll always be accommodating any local traffic to people's homes in the area. I can show on a map if anyone's unfamiliar with the area, but basically the through traffic would be detoured to Wilson Avenue. Anyone trying to get through from Rowayton Avenue to Highland Avenue. We do hand out notices anytime that we go to do this type of work to all the residents on the street that we're going to be impacting. We provide them with our customer service number, and we give them an idea of what to expect while we're working in the area. Again, people are able to get in and out of their driveways. We just try to ensure no one parks on Witch Lane anyway. There's no room to do that. And we also have different side streets along the way that if we needed to get some of the local traffic around the heavier construction, we could do that. Nearby is Crooked Trail, Ledge and Range Road. We could potentially get some of the locals around the most narrow point between Highland and Ridge. Ledge and Range Road. And this will only be up to where Hunt Street meets Witch Lane. So it's a relatively small segment, but it is too narrow to accommodate alternating traffic. We will be calling, our contractor will be instructed to they're always instructed to call the police department and set up officers on either end of the closure. And they'll also have additional flaggers on site for around the equipment for the locals to help them navigate through the construction site. We're looking at starting around mid-October. And some of the construction may run into November, but the most impactful construction will be the ripping up of the road, the grading of the road, and the paving of the road. Following the paving, we do, it might take some time to get the curb down and the sidewalk in. So we'll still have a presence on the site after paving. But once the paving is done, we'll have better conveyance of traffic through the site.
Comments or questions from the commission?
Yes, Mr. Brendelmeyer, I don't see, is there an end date that I'm not seeing on this? It says when, start date, October.
So I think all of the construction could last roughly 6 weeks, but that's like including the curb and the sidewalks and punch list work. But the actual reclaiming of the road, regrading of the road, and paving of the road, we hope to accomplish all of those things within a 3-week span.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
I have none.
I have none.
I have no questions. I just have a comment about the sidewalk project in that area. I believe it's on is that Rowayton Avenue?
Yeah.
That has really been an improvement for the neighborhood. You know, the parents are able to walk safely with their children, and it's easy navigation for the driver, because before it was very hazardous and dangerous. So you all have done a great job there.
Yeah, TMP and DPW have been working very close together, in trying to improve conveyance for pedestrians, bikes, and vehicles.
Thank you, Collier, comments for those thoughts. We appreciate it.
I'll just second what the commissioner said, Commissioner Collier Clements. It has been, as I ride around the city, you could see a city that is growing and a city that is becoming more modern, and it's a good job.
A city that doesn't sleep.
Yeah, a city that doesn't,
especially with all the nighttime work.
Motorcycles.
Okay, so all in favor of this item?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. The next meeting of the Traffic Authority is on October 21st, 2024. The time is now, what time is it?
5:33 now.
Okay, that is the time, and there are no other items on the agenda. Motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, and it is 5:34. We are adjourned.
Aye.
Okay, we'll see you on the other side for the Police Commission meeting.
On the other side.